let's talk a little college football playoff action, shall we? Tennessee's not in it, but they're still amidst the transfer portal and the NIL chaos and things happening with the NFL and college basketball season. Guys, did y'all know that the second round of the college football playoff, the quarterfinals of the college football playoff are about to start? They start this week on New Year's Eve. Penn State plays Boise State. And then on Wednesday, Texas plays Arizona State. Well, Penn State plays Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. And then on Wednesday, Texas plays Arizona State at 1 in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Ohio State plays Oregon in the Rose Bowl at 5. And Notre Dame plays Georgia at 8:45 in the All-State Sugar Bowl. I will say this. I have some criticisms of the college football playoff that I will get to. But this is what college football is about. New Year's Eve game with national title implications, and then dominating New Year's Day games with national title implications. This is the best part about the playoff and how it should have been from the start. This is the one part that you got to love if you're a college football fan. So let's get rolling. What does this all mean? All right, let's get to talking. The first round was a disappointment. 4 blowout games. It showed how much home field advantage matters. It shows how the format is flawed. Doesn't really show that the wrong teams got in. It just shows how the format is flawed. Will things be different in the second round of the college football playoff? I'm going to go through these games, and I'm going to talk about my thoughts on whether or not they'll be different, because I think they will. Now, Vegas thinks Notre Dame, Georgia is going to be the closest game. They think Notre Dame, Georgia, they have Georgia favored by 1.5 points in the Sugar Bowl. They think the only other close game, though, will be Ohio State, Oregon, and they have Ohio State favored by 2.5 in that game. Penn State and Boise State, Penn State's favored by 11, and Texas and Arizona State, Texas is favored by 13. So, with all that in mind, are there any chances of an upset in this round? Can there be any good games? I'm going to go ahead and give my analysis right now on all of these games. So, I'm going to say this right up front. Throw out the Texas-Arizona State game, guys. I'm sorry. I don't think Arizona State has a chance. It's the predicted blowout of blowouts of the 4, and I think that is the accurate call. Texas is significantly better than Arizona State. Arizona State had no business getting a first-round bye, honestly, and I don't care that Texas has played. I think Texas is going to absolutely obliterate Arizona State. That 13-point spread is too low as it is, honestly. I think Texas is going to cover easily. They're going to dominate. If you guys know this, Arizona State's best win is at home against BYU. They won that game 20-23. Now, they did beat Iowa State 45-19 later in the year, which is probably the most impressive look for them. But honestly, I think Iowa State might have been significantly overrated this year. Arizona State is getting hot down the stretch of the season. They haven't beaten anybody significant enough, though, for anybody to think that they could beat Texas. Okay, I think Texas is going to absolutely, just saying this up front, they're going to beat the brakes off Arizona State. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be humiliating, guys. And it'll be the 1 p.m. game, and it'll be the worst way to start off New Year's Day, because college football playoff is supposed to own New Year's Day, and they're going to own it in the afternoon when everybody's watching, with Texas absolutely dominating. And I mean dominating. I'm not lying here, guys. Dominating Arizona State. I'm telling you, it's going to be ugly. And I think Texas is overrated. They played an easy schedule. I don't really care. I think that they have way more talent than Arizona State, and this won't be pretty. All right, so let's go on to the other games. I'm sounding like an SEC homer here, guys, and I'm really not trying to, honestly. But Notre Dame, Georgia, Vegas is dead wrong on this. They think this is going to be the closest game of the year, of the weekend, or of the second round. No, it's not. No, it's not. Notre Dame's best win is the opener at against the Texas A&M Aggies team that was breaking in a new head coach, and the next week they lost to Northern Illinois. Who have they beaten since then? Honestly, guys, they haven't beaten anybody that good. Okay? You can tout Indiana. We realized Indiana was frauds. Indiana beat one team with a winning record this year. That team had 7 wins, okay? And that was Michigan. They played Ohio State, got blown out. They played Notre Dame, and they lost. I'm sorry. I think Georgia's absolutely going to obliterate Notre Dame. Georgia got the rest. I don't know how valuable that's going to be, but I think Georgia is going to absolutely destroy Notre Dame. It's not going to be pretty. Again, that's going to be humiliating. Put all your money. Do a parlay on Texas and Georgia covering, honestly. I don't even realize how people think. How does Vegas think this game is going to be close? A 1.5 point spread? No, not happening. One, people are forgetting I think that Notre Dame is their best win. I would probably say is Army, and they did win that 49-14. And Notre Dame has looked good in all of their wins. They've looked pretty. I'm not going to pretend they haven't, but they still lost to Northern Illinois at the beginning of the year. And Notre Dame slips up when it matters most. Who could trust them in big games? I'm sorry. I think Georgia's going to absolutely blow out Notre Dame. That one's going to be embarrassing too, to be truth be told. So, what about the other two games? Penn State, Boise State. Here we go, guys. This might be the most fun game of the entire college football playoff. Now, I'm going to talk in a little while about why I disagree with the expanded college football playoff. And this is where Josh Pate and I align. But Josh Pate and I don't fully align. Josh Pate thinks the point of a playoff is to crown a champion. That is the ultimate goal. But I think a playoff that has a fun journey with it is still fine. I think the journey can be fine. College basketball, the journey of the NCAA tournament is fun because of the Cinderellas. I don't want college football to be college basketball because I want the regular season to matter, and that's my issue with the expanded playoff. But the journey of the college football playoff is still fine, and it's still fun, and it can still generate ratings. Why do I say that? Boise State has no shot of winning the national title. None. They're not going to do it. They don't have a chance in hell. But do they have a chance of beating an elite team in a one-game setting when they've had rest? Yes, they do. That is the situation we're dealing with Boise State and Penn State. One, the Fiesta Bowl's out west. In Arizona, there's more sympathy for these type of lesser teams out west. If you guys don't know, the Fiesta Bowl was created because the old Western conferences, like the Mountain West back in the 70s, didn't believe that they were getting enough feature love in bowl games. That's how the bowl was created to begin with. So it's perfectly positioned for Boise State. One of the most memorable wins of all time that really pushed mid-majors into the forefront was Boise State upsetting Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl in 2006. On top of that, Boise State, don't forget this. Now, again, they could not go through the grind of a Big Ten schedule. They would not be able to, okay, unless it was Indiana's version of the Big Ten schedule. They wouldn't be able to handle Penn State's Big Ten schedule. But they did play Oregon on the road extremely tough at the beginning of the year, only losing 37-34. And that was in Oregon. They played Oregon as tough as Ohio State played Oregon, honestly. And they won every other game on the year. Boise State, with the amount of rest they had, can absolutely beat Penn State. So I think this spread is way too large, honestly. I think Penn State, while I think is better than Boise State, has a tendency to choke in big games. I think they might be feeling themselves just a little bit for a first-round college football playoff win over a overrated SMU team. And while they did put up a fight against Oregon too, they didn't put up the same fight Boise State put up, and they did it in a neutral field, whereas Boise State did it at Oregon, where the fight was, and Penn State's also lost to Ohio State. Penn State typically does hit pars under James Franklin. So I think you may want to pick them to win, but I don't think you – put it this way. I don't think they cover. This is a Penn State team that needed overtime to beat USC. This is a Penn State team that only beat Bowling Green by a touchdown. This is a Penn State team that lost 26-25 to Arizona on the road, okay? I'm telling you guys, Penn State is going to struggle. I actually think Boise State might actually cover this game. So if you're following me now, Texas, Arizona State, Texas covers easily. Georgia, Notre Dame, Georgia covers easily. Do an alternate spread of like 10 points of that one. Penn State, Boise State, I think Boise State covers, and I'm not so sure Boise State doesn't pull off the upset in that one. And finally, let's have a little fun with Ohio State, Oregon. Ohio State's 2.5-point favorites in this game. They should have beaten Oregon when they went to Oregon back in October when Oregon beat them 32-31. Ohio State was the better team if you watched it start to finish, guys. And Oregon won 32-31. Ohio State should have won that game. So on print, I think this could be the best game of the bunch, though. This looks like it'll be the best game of the bunch. Although, again, Penn State, I think Penn State, Boise State will be the most exciting game of the bunch because I think Boise State's going to put up a fight. But the most sure bet to be a close game is Ohio State, Oregon. Ohio State is 2.5-point favorites. I get it. It's a neutral field. They barely lost to Oregon at Oregon earlier in the season. Something about me feels like Oregon's going to win, though. Even though Ohio State may be the better team. I think Ohio State, pulled out all their stops against Tennessee because their backs were against the wall with the Ryan Day talk. They wanted to come out and send a message for Ryan Day, and I think they made sure that they were going to break Tennessee's will early. But I don't know if they have it in them to do that 2 games in a row. And I think Oregon actually has it in them to beat Ohio State again at the Rose Bowl, particularly since Oregon already beat them, is undefeated as number 1, and is the underdogs in this game. So I actually think Oregon could end up winning this game. And I think conventional wisdom says the exact opposite. So Kyle said Penn State's 2 losses were Ohio State and Oregon, not Arizona. Did I say their losses were to Arizona? I don't think I said that. Maybe I made a mistake on that. But I think I was talking about the Fiesta Bowl being in Arizona, which favors Mountain West teams. But anyways, the Ohio State Oregon is the toughest one for me to call. It's the biggest toss-up one, honestly. The other 3 I think are relatively easy. I think Texas is an easy cover against Arizona State. Georgia's an easy cover against Notre Dame. And I think Boise State's an easy cover against Penn State. Honestly, I think Boise State keeps this game within a touchdown and may even pull off the upset. Ohio State, Oregon could go any which way. Ohio State has the better talent. They could win in a blowout. Oregon could be taking it personal. Ohio State could have expended too much energy beating Tennessee the way they did. So Oregon could win in a blowout. This could go either way. But Oregon, Ohio State's the most unpredictable. Penn State, Boise State, your best bet at a lower seeded team making a run. Texas and Georgia are locks to win. That's the way the college football playoff is going to work this year. And bank on it. Bank on it. Penn State, Oregon. I'm sorry. Bank on it. Penn State, Boise State will be the most exciting, surprising college football playoff game on New Year's Eve.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions.
Bank on It brought to you by Commercial Bank, member FDIC, life made better, cbtn.com, Commercial Bank. All right, so yes, I think Boise State, Penn State's going to be the most exciting game that Friday evening. I was looking at it through, and again, guys, have y'all seen Boise State in the fight they gave Arizona? Have you seen how Penn State has struggled in big games throughout this year? Also, we have to point out that, like, Penn State, if I'm not mistaken, well, no, they have been tested pretty well. They've been relatively tested. They played Illinois, and they beat them by 2 touchdowns. But, again, away from home is very suspect. Again, needing overtime to beat USC, I'm just thinking, beating Arizona by just 1 point on the road, I'm just really thinking, guys, that Penn State is going to struggle with Boise State. And if you really want to make some money, why don't you go with maybe Boise State to win that game? I'm thinking I'm going to let the message board decide. I don't have a gambling problem at all, but I'm doing a parlay on this one. I'm doing a 4-game parlay. I'm going to try to pick all 4 spreads. I've got Texas covering the 13-point spread, Georgia covering the 1.5-point spread. I've got, and then the Penn State, Boise State, and Ohio State, Oregon games are the toughest ones to me. I think I'm going to have Oregon cover the 2.5. They're 2.5-point underdogs. I think Oregon is going to cover that. And the question is, do I go big or go home and pick Penn State to win outright pick Boise State to win outright against Penn State? What do you guys think? Big or go home? Boise State to cover or Boise State to win? So to go Boise State to cover, Boise State to win. I think we're really sleeping on Boise State. And here's the problem, guys. Here's the real issue. I think Boise State could win. And then all the college football playoff expansion fans are going to be like, see, Cinderella's can happen in college football. The college football playoff had a Cinderella. Not realizing Boise State has a rare talent at running back. They still have no shot of winning at all. And we always said they could win 1 game, okay? That doesn't really make it worth devaluing the regular season the way it was devalued, even though I do enjoy, if you're going to have a playoff, I do enjoy the process more than I do the end result. But I'm just waiting on somebody to do that, okay? I think I'm going to play it safe. I'm already parlaying it. So I think I'm going to say Boise State covers. I'm a little bit nervous of saying Boise State wins outright. So I'm going to go Boise State plus 11. So my calls are this. I'm making them official. Texas minus 13. Boise State plus 11, Texas minus 13, Oregon plus 2.5, Georgia minus 1.5. Those are my calls for the quarterfinals of the college football playoff in the Fiesta Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the All-State Sugar Bowl. For those who don't remember, the winner of these games are going to play each other on Thursday, January the 9th in the Orange Bowl, and Friday, January the 10th in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. And then, of course, the national championship will be on Monday, January the 20th. But, yep, just to recap one more time, I got Penn State plus 11, Texas minus 13, Oregon plus 2.5, and Georgia minus 1.5. Those are my calls for the college football playoff. Those calls brought to you by the UPS Store Hardin Valley, helping individuals and small businesses, wide range of products and services, locally owned and operated. The UPSstore.com at 10629 Hardin Valley Road. That's right, 10629 Hardin Valley Road. I'm telling you guys, don't sleep on Boise State. Don't sleep on them in this game. You can hate mid-majors all you want. You can agree with me that they don't have a real shot of winning it all. But in a setting like this, with the right matchup on a Friday night, I'm sorry, not on a Friday night, on a New Year's Eve night, they have a great chance of keeping this game close, particularly with their running game. So don't sleep on Boise State. Boise State, Penn State is the most must-watch game of these four in the college football playoff, even though neither team has a shot at winning it all. Again, it's about the journey and the process and the fun more than it is about that.